What do you do when things get difficult? Or, in other words, how do you deal with failure in a way that propels you to success? Because it's really your response or reaction to failure that determines the further trajectory of your life. So, I'm going to give you a simple yet powerful strategy to instantly turn any failure into a win. We usually love and hate failure, don't we? We understand failure is an inherent part of success, and we admire it when we listen to the stories or hear the stories of heroes who overcome insurmountable obstacles. We admire their courage, how they show up to deal with all the odds stacked against them, and how they conquer it all to, despite the odds, and achieve the trophy. Those stories and messages stir our soul, awaken our mind, and connect us with our power. They remind us of who we really are. And we all understand that the hero is made during those challenges. If it wasn't for those challenges, the hero wouldn't exist. Intellectually, we grasp that. We also understand that a bird will never fly being comfortable in a nest. It only learns to fly in the air. And yet, when it comes to our own life, when faced with failure, we recoil. We panic, we react, and usually in a negative way, because most people associate the outside failure with their inner inadequacy. And that's the crux of the problem. It's not about what happens to us. It's all about our reaction to what it means and our definition of what it means. And as soon as we shift our perspective from things happening to us to things happen for us, the things literally change their nature. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Wisely said Wayne Dyer. And although it's inspirational in nature, this message is rooted in metaphysics, in hardcore science. Because as soon as you change the way you see failure from something bad, negative, and destructive into something positive and as a stepping stone, you instantly and automatically change the trajectory of that event. The scenario starts developing in your favor. It's really interesting how it works, but it does work every time. It's not about convincing or forcing yourself to feel good or positive. It's literally rising above the consequences by raising your consciousness and changing your energy. We tend to experience failure because we give an excessive importance to the things we want to achieve. It's like, for most people, it's like life or death matter. So we tend to approach our goals with the mindset, I've got to have it at all costs. And we don't have any flexibility. There is nothing wrong with commitment and dedication. However, when we give what I call the excessive emotional potential to our goals or objectives or anything really, we disrupt the natural order of things and we waste our energy. And we end up fighting ourselves, literally pushing water uphill, and we blame ourselves because who's responsible for our outcomes? Who else if not ourselves? And no matter how meticulously we prepare, things don't usually go according to our plans, especially initially. Let me share with you a story. When I was 9 years old, I was asked to recite a poem at mom's church. I never shared mom's passion for religion, but I agreed to recite a poem because I thought it would be fun. So I remember the meticulous preparation of hours of learning and rehearsing. So on a Sunday morning, I was prepared. I knew the poem by heart because I must have rehearsed it for what seemed like thousands of times. And I had a backup plan. I had a piece of paper with that poem written on it, and I had it tucked in the sleeve of my sweater. So I was prepared. So mom and I, we came to church, and I got on stage and my heart dropped to my feet. I could feel my sweaty palms and a chill down my spine. I had a hard time breathing. All 40 people in that enormously huge audience were looking at me. Oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? I didn't know how to place my feet so I wouldn't look embarrassed. My knees were shaking. I had million thoughts in my mind, none of which made sense or helped calm my looming anxiety. If only I had known what I was getting myself into, I would never have said yes to that challenge. I wanted to run away, but I couldn't because I was frozen and I couldn't move. So I had no other option rather than start speaking. So I start speaking. A few lines in and I'm thinking, this is going well. And then blank. I don't remember what goes next. Oh my God. Help me. I start frenetically praying in my head, but there is nothing. Silence. Void. And 40 pairs of eyes are fixated on me. Are they judging me? Come on, God, help me. Out of all places, I'm in church. My mind is exploding. I'm holding on to that piece of paper in the sleeve of my sweater, but I'm unable to move and dare to speak to break the silence, embarrassing myself even more. I try to open my mouth to apologize or say something to fix the situation, but I can't utter a single sound. I have no voice. Literally. A few moments drag on like an eternity, and I make a final decision. I run away, full of shame, swallowing the bitter tears of disappointment. The story doesn't have a happy ending. I want someone to come in, to come and give me a hug and tell me that there is nothing to worry about, but no one does. I'm left alone. And I actually prefer it that way because I've always liked to deal with my sorrow and misery on my own. Apparently, God was busy on a more important occasion on that day, so he couldn't attend to my request. But what's interesting is I remember that day very clearly. As bitter as that experience was when it happened, I quickly forgot about it. Life moves on quickly, especially when you're a child and you have so many distractions. I didn't let that failure fester in my mind. You see, speaking is something that I've always loved doing, despite multiple failures I had. And I believe I got better and better because of those failures. Now, I still have a lot of room to improve, but I didn't allow those failures stop me or define who I was. When I came to America and signed up for Toastmasters, a public speaking club in the States, I nearly fainted at my first public speaking presentation. I remember my first meeting, I sat on the chair and listened to some of the accomplished speakers. It was a special night, so I was very fortunate to listen to those professional speakers who were wonderful, by the way. And you know how professionals make it look and sound so easy? So I thought, right, Anna, this is your moment. You have to jump at opportunities. And there was a section of impromptu, unprepared speaking. So I raised my hand, full of courage, and I was so naive, and I stood up. I don't remember what the topic was, and my mind went blank. All my clever thoughts disappeared quicker than our kids leave the kitchen when it's time to clean the kitchen after dinner. George Essel's words were so spot on. He said, "The human brain is a wonderful thing. It starts working the moment you're born and never stops until you stand up to speak in public." Yeah, it was embarrassing. Thankfully, the people at the club were supportive and made me feel welcome. Now, going home, I wasn't upset or frustrated. I was amused, if anything, laughing at myself in the car. I didn't treat that failure or that embarrassing experience as failure. even though I failed technically, but I treated it as a fun experience. As well as I treated all my 20 plus speeches afterwards at that club that were absolutely rubbish, but I didn't treat them as failure. It was a fun experience to go through. And I kept going and I kept going until I started winning speaking contests and being invited to speak at different events and eventually organizing my own events and masterminds, because it was my path, my purpose, and my mission. I enjoyed the journey. I wasn't impatient with the outcomes. And to be honest with you, I didn't really have any outcomes initially. I just wanted to get good. It wasn't hard or difficult for me. I failed a lot, but my attitude towards it was light and fun because it was fun. It was part of the process. I treated those setbacks as stepping stones to who I was becoming. And that's what allowed me to succeed. Now, it came naturally to me. I can't take the credit for transforming my attitude towards my speaking failures because my attitude was in the right place to begin with. There were many other areas in my life where I had to work on, but not this one, because that was a path of certainty for me. I never doubted who I was despite the failures. So I want to share with you a simple yet very powerful reframing technique that turns any failure or setback into a win. And eventually, that transformation brings you your desired results, your desired success. So first, step number 1, remember to remove your desire from the outcomes you want to create. It sounds counterintuitive until you understand it. When you have desire, you consciously or unconsciously declare to the universe, I want something because I don't have it. You emphasize the energy of lack, and abundance cannot come from the place of lack. So when you remove the energy of desire, in other words, wanting and lack, you enter the space of creative genius. Your creative genius. And that's the second step. Most people never get to that space because they are too attached to the outcomes, results, and ROIs. And when you are too attached to the outcomes, your genius is silenced or blocked because all your energy is focused on non-existent. You cannot create anything new or original in that state of consciousness. So often people complain that they are not inspired, all because they focus on what they are not in control of, which breeds fears, doubts, and concerns, suffocating genius instead of focusing on expanding their creative spark here and now that effortlessly manifests all the desires. The third step is what I call how fascinating approach. What does it mean? Well, you pour your heart and soul into something and it doesn't work according to your plan. Sound familiar? Or according to your expectations. Now, but then again, when you expect something, you want it and you unconsciously emphasize lack. And that energy always messes things up. So you need to transform that energy of lack. And to transform it, you have to adopt how fascinating approach. I did a webinar and no one showed up. How fascinating. Literally say this to yourself. You will laugh. And when you laugh, you change your shift. You change your energy. You tell yourself, I'm going to try a different approach and tweak my messaging. You turn it into game. Or another example, I did a presentation and no one bought. How fascinating. I'm going to work on my pitch. In such a way, you not only turn failures into stepping stones, you turn the whole process into a game. You play with it and you truly enjoy the process of becoming more. It's that simple. Detach yourself from the outcomes, enter your creative genius, and laugh at your setbacks. That's it. That's what's going to bring you success. And the only difference between success and failure is not talent, gift, or opportunity. It's how many times you pick yourself up when things don't work. That's it. And you never fail unless you stop. So laugh at yourself, detach yourself from all the outcomes that you want to achieve, and enter and operate in your genius zone, because that's where all the magic and miracles happen.